Thank you so much for coming to today's session. First of all, I want you all to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Eyes closed. Perfect. I want you to draw a picture in your head, an engineer, software engineer to be specific. Picture in your head, a software engineer. Eyes closed. Cool. Everyone has a picture in his head, her head? Perfect. Nod, yes? Perfect. Open your eyes now. Raise your hand if you have seen someone who looks like this. A male behind a desk, probably in a suit. That's a lot of hands. Raise your hand if you have seen someone in a hoodie, like a young guy trying to, to hack the NASA or something. Raise your hand if you have seen an old lady with the cats. Not so many hands. I'm worried. Okay. Now raise your hand if you have seen a female software engineer. Cool. Someone like, if you haven't raised your hand, I would like you to leave. Thank you so much. So my name is Isra. I'm a software engineer, and I'm one of the minority in the tech industry. So when I tried to decide what to do, when it was the time for me to decide what career I wanted to do, I had no idea. I did not know, not a single idea, what to do in my career. So it was by chance that my father suggested that I do software engineering, and it worked out for me at the end, spoiler alert. So thank you, Dad, for that. But I closed my eyes, and I was trying to imagine what a software engineer looks like. So I saw the old lady. No, I'm just kidding. As most of you pictured in their head, I saw a man, a typical behind-the-desk male doing some stuff in the computer. And I was telling my dad, why? Why do you want me to be someone like him? I don't see myself doing this. And later on, when I got into the university and I started to do software engineering, it was so hard for me. I felt that I don't belong there, that it was too difficult to deal with in a daily basis. But what made this conclusion in my head is that my male colleagues were killing it. Everyone had answers right away. When the teachers asked something, they were ready to answer. And I felt so much left behind. And in some point, it just concluded the idea that, yes, maybe software engineering is for male rather than female. And then one day, it was exams time, and I went to the library, and guess what? All my colleague males were there at the library. They were studying hard. It was that missing point that I was missing. It's not just, they don't just naturally born with it. They do extra effort. They're passionate about it, and they want to learn more about it, so they study extra hard. And I knew right there that maybe I'm not missing out. I just need to do extra stuff. I need to study hard if I really want to succeed in the field. And that's exactly what I did. And at some point, I was nailing it too. I had the answers because I prepared well, and it started to grow on me, and I started to fall in love with the word of binary of zeros and one. And that's when I decided to give this opportunity that I didn't have myself for the younger generation. I wanted to give them exposure to STEM. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. This is something that we like, at least what I come from. We do not know at a very young age what we want to do when we grow up. We maybe say, hey, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, and so on. But if you don't have the inspiration, the tools, the resources at a very young age, maybe you don't develop motivation to pursue a career in those kind of fields. So what I wanted to do is to create some kind of a programs dedicated for the kids, for the younger generation, and give them the exposure they need so they get inspired to choose a career of their choice later on. So, due to some recent statistics, we probably are half of the population in the world, but only 17.4% globally are women in the tech industry. And to be specific, in Europe, we represent 19%. So why? Why women stay in the tech industry for fewer time? What barriers do we face on a daily basis? And why do we want to give up so easily? And how can we change that? So, you can find in the QR codes the resources or the statistics that I based my research on, and scientifically proven that from a very young age, both young kids, female and male, have the same interest in computer science or any tech industry, let's say robotics, engineering, blogs, everything that is techie. We basically have the same interests. No difference at all from a very young age, let's say starting from the age of 4 until 6, 7. But only 30% chooses a STEM in higher education. We're talking about the same, but still 30% chooses STEM. By the time of graduation, that percentage is going to lower down a little bit to go to 20 and 26%. So we're missing out some of the girls while graduating. And that's due to some factors. Most of those factors are going to be coming from cultural mindset that they have while we're growing up. So we have stereotypes saying that girls should be playing with Barbies, dolls, be cute princesses, rather than building blocks, doing puzzles. It's the choice of the toys. And if you have noticed, maybe you did, all of the stories of the engineers are boys. We haven't seen so many girls into the stories of the builder and so many other characters that they characterize being boys interested in those kind of toys, which make the girls go more into being pretty and being a princess, which is something awesome and amazing, of course, but we should at the same time not limit them to think only in that direction, but give them all the choices or the opportunity to have multiple choices for their own. Also, growing up thinking that it's only a male thing and they can excel on this naturally, like myself, I thought of that. I thought that only the boys was born with it. They just know how to do computer science. They just know how to code. And I truly believe that at some point. But giving the young girls other examples, role models, showing them that there are other girls, other women that are excelling in this field as well, so they can get inspired to be maybe like one of them. With that being said, there are a big percentage of 45% that women leave their tech career within the first year, only the first year after graduation. And 50% of women leave their career by mid-age. That's a little bit of shocking. We only have 3% of C-suits. By C-suits, I mean the chief positions. So CEO, CTO, CFOs. As you can see, we started with the same interests, 50%, 30%, and we end up with 3%. And this is what we call the leaking bucket. We've already talked about some of the reasons, and in the career industry, a lot of barriers goes along too. So we're talking about someone with you in the same company who can support you and support your decision coming from a female. I had a lot of examples where a female software engineer gives an opinion and not be heard, but when a guy says exactly the same thing, they take into consideration that decision and apply it. So having someone to support you in that kind of a case will definitely make you stay more in the company rather than just give up, because you don't have a role model, a supporter that they can count on to continue working in that environment. Also, between colleagues, I had a lot of stories that when a female is, a tech female is in a group of male engineers, they always point out that maybe in the peer review on code, maybe her code is going to be broken just because she's a female. And even though the code works just fine, and it's maybe in the same level or even better than another colleague, but they always point out the fact that it comes from her. And here we can see that there's a lot of pointing out rather than seeing the work just of that person, and not taking consideration the skills, the technical skills of that person. All of that, we can see that we started off with a big percentage of people having the same interest, going down into 3%, and this is what we represent by the leaking bucket. We have a bucket that has hole in it, and due to a lot of reasons, taking consideration into the culture, the stereotypes, the mindsets, growing up, and the lack of resources, making holes into this bucket. So of course, what we want to do here is to fix those holes. And how can we do that? Firstly, we are going to talk about women to women, supporting each other in the tech industry. Maybe because we've been into the same situation. I've had an interesting conversation with someone saying, I can't maybe help out another female colleague because I don't relate. I don't know what you're going through if you don't speak it yourself, which is logically right, because we don't go through into the same kind of conditions. So at least having a supporter will give you the confidence to continue making your voice to be heard. Second of all, providing a safe environment. When I say safe environment in the company, it's making laws, making an environment that is safe for you to point out to those kind of behaviors that makes your daily life even challenging, just being as a woman in the tech industry. And third of all is what we're doing right now, talking about this situation. Maybe nobody knows that we're going through stuff just because being in the tech industry, because you don't relate to us. Or maybe because we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And in matter of fact, it does. So at least talking about it and trying to spot the problem and having at least we point it into some kind of, or propose some kind of solutions would help making the situation even better. I've pointed out some of the communities in Europe, mostly in France as well, that they're doing a really great job in this. So you can totally connect, join those communities, and try to spread to make a better environment for us to continue in the tech industry. We're just fixing the bucket. We will definitely have a balanced, better world altogether. We don't just need a female perspective. It's part of the balance. And by fixing the bucket, we will definitely try to make that balance work. Maybe as a final thought for someone who's been through those challenges myself, what I've learned in those fewer years in the tech industry is that I do not need to look for my own space, but rather making that space myself. As I said, you do not join the table, you bring a chair to the table. You need to prove your point of view. You argument technically, not personally. We argument technically that our choices is right, and it needs to be taken into consideration. So you have to make your own space. You have to stop to fit in. Because just because that someone did not argument her choices or she just stayed quiet, it means that it's the right decision and you have to do the same thing. But rather trying to fit in, maybe trying to make your own space. We've growing up, maybe myself also have been, had the idea that male can excel and they're doing a great job. So if we're working from the younger generation and teaching them that there is no such thing for both ways, male and female can excel and do whatever they want in their careers. And for that, I created a free workshop to support educators, so teachers and parents, to support their children, to give them the exposure into STEM. So feel free to sign up for a quick form. And we do virtually, since I'm based in France, we do virtual workshops, sessions, so I can give you the steps, the instruction, the tools, the resources that are super fun in a gamified way, so we can all have a younger generation that are going to make really great future engineers. That's it for today's. Thank you so much. Maybe another applause for my little brother who flew all the way to support me. Thank you so much. Thank you. I always want to, give a little time for you to speak, maybe to share. I see some of the girls. If you have been through into a situation, maybe we can talk about it. If you really feel safe to talk about it and share together, because there are some stories that are unheard, and maybe if we know about them, we can share how to deal with this situation. So, or maybe if you have a question as well. All good? Yeah?
Well, rather than a question or explaining my own journey, I wanted to comment on something that you've said that I think is very, very interesting, and that it's, in my opinion, overlooked. At least here in Spain, many companies choose to recruit women instead of men in, the effort to introduce more women in the tech industry, right? In my opinion, I think that this causes men to kind of see this as a little bit offensive in some way. I think that is justified, to be honest. And I think that the solution to the problem is not limiting men into these, job opportunities, whatever. It is rather to attack the problem from the base, which is the education of children. And that is something that you've said, and I think it's very, very interesting. That's what I wanted to comment on.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. That's really great note. We've seen that men can get really frustrated, maybe because some companies are trying to make the company inclusive or include diversity in the company because they gain points or wherever. But as you said, maybe not just going through directly to the conclusion and trying to do the other way, because that would may create more conflicts than making a solution. Someone asked me and said, I was having a conversation in the conference and said, how can I be a better colleague for my female tech? And what I would say definitely is if you have a voice, just trying to stand to support that person. Because I've been in a room of meeting where someone really, let's say, humiliated the female engineer in front of us all, and no one spoke and tried to stop him. Just because he doesn't want maybe problems, or he knows a person, or he's a superior or a manager, it doesn't matter. So it took us, maybe female, to support the other females, but we needed more voice. We needed more people so we can at least have a power against that person. So at least speak up if you see something, and try to be helpful rather than pointing out fingers. Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to add, I've been in IT for about 20 years. I started as a biochemist and I converted over to programming. I had my babies and they're older now, but the most difficult bit to try and keep up and to reinvent yourself after that period of having children and not really being able to focus on your career was the most difficult, and it's something that, you know, needs a wee bit more support, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Remember when we talked about those who leave their tech career, you know, the 50%? That was also one of the challenges, is keeping the work-life balance as well, and especially after giving birth. So what I came from, we value maybe the women more, and we give them more time into the maternity, which I think is something really important, to stay with your baby at least during the first months. And this includes the part of education. When the kid have their parents with themselves, they can grow better in terms of education. So maybe also trying to implement programs or, let's say, laws that can help into that period of time of maternity. On the parallel as well, some companies do ask the question, which if you don't know, if a recruiter asks you whether you're planning to have kids or if you're married, you're totally okay not to answer the question. It's a personal information, and you don't need to answer if you don't want to answer the question. Because based on that, they would calculate the time of the maternity leave, and they would choose someone else who didn't make that choice. So also, thank you. That was a point that worth sharing as well. I think our time is up. Thank you so much. Yes, we can talk after.